Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, Luann Nigara. Luann has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. Luann brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. Anne Rue is with me today. Anne is the principal of Anne Rue Interiors, and she has over 20 years experience designing for both high-end residential and commercial clients, creating inspired living spaces for everyone from professional athletes, multifamily housing properties, model merchandising, senior housing, and luxury motor coaches, as well as yachts. Anne is no stranger to media. Her work has been featured in Florida Design, Orlando Magazine, Orange Appeal Magazine, and she has been a design expert on Orlando's WESH News on Sunrise and Good Day Orlando on Fox News. But you may know Anne as the Season 8 fan favorite on HGTV's Design Star, or as the designer on the hit show Hotel Impossible on the Travel Channel. There are many things that Anne and I could have discussed with her 20 years experience, but we settled on two things. The first was how her 18-year-old business was completely turned around when she hired a business coach. And the second is the reality of doing reality TV. Anne is an experienced business owner, and she shares tons of insights that I'm sure you will enjoy and appreciate. Before I introduce you to Anne, let me remind you that if you'd like Kravit Inc. to notice and possibly repost your projects on their social media platforms, whenever you use a Kravit product in one of your projects, photograph it, whether it's fabric, furniture, lighting, or accessories, and then use the hashtag InstaKravit when you post it. Tag Kravit and tag me too. Who knows, maybe your pick will be one that makes it on one of their reposts for their social media platforms. Okay, let me introduce you to Anne Rue. Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you, Luann. I want you to know I am your biggest fan. You talk to me every day.
It's funny. I have to say, I know the feeling, first of all, because, of course, I have the podcast that I listen to religiously, and I exactly feel the same way. And I totally geek out when I meet them. Every once in a while, I get the opportunity, like you are now, to be interviewed on their show or at Podcast Movement. And, it's so funny because I literally will be like 3 sentences in, and I'll be like, oh, wait, it's only me that knows you, huh?
I know you have no idea that you're my best friend.
Exactly. I know. And it's funny because I find myself, particularly this past summer when I was at Podcast Movement, literally involved in conversations and actually having a moment of being somewhat normal, even for me. And then all of a sudden I'll say, well, like that time. And then I was just like, look, and I'm like, no, see, that was in my mind again. That was what happened when I listened to your show, and that happened.
I know. I listen to you all the time when I'm in my car, and I'm talking back to you, and I'm thinking, oh, she's not going to respond.
I know. Oh, it's fun. But I have to say, you do hit the ground running that way. You automatically feel like we were just at Atlanta for Fall Design Week with a group of us. And I'm also having this moment now. I don't know if I said this off air to somebody in the last couple of days. I said it on air to somebody. But you just sit down and you just start talking. And that is also because facilitated by the Facebook groups. You are in the groups with your fellow designers and stuff. So anyway, so it's fun. And I appreciate and thank you for being a loyal listener, Anne. Oh, man. Anyway, so here's the thing. You have a lot of different things that we could talk about. And one of the things that I loved was in an email between the two of us, you said this line, coaching saved my business after 17 years. And you had me at hello line. So, and we're going to go through, in the introduction, I mentioned that you've been on HGTV and the Travel Channel and all these other different things that we're going to talk about. And that, I've said that you're in business 25 years and, you're a designer 25 years and in business 18. So It's so funny. I set the stage in the introduction, and sometimes I feel like I have to reset the stage. It's like, hello, Luann. Stage is set. Get going. But start us there, Anne. Start us in the moment that you think, what the heck, and what drove you to seek help out at that point in your career, and what did it look like for you?
Okay, well, let me kind of start a little bit at the beginning and I'll go through it quickly because I've pretty much done everything. It's like I've made every mistake in the design business you can imagine, but I'm still here. So I did something right, you know?
Perseverance.
Exactly. But, my first degree was in fashion design. And when I realized I wasn't moving to New York and going to work for, Calvin Klein or whoever, it was like, oh gosh, what are you going to do? And I floundered and I went back to school for interior design. And when I was going to school for interior design, I was working at JCPenney Custom Decorating doing the window treatment.
Isn't that no way? That's so funny. You didn't tell me that off air. You saved that.
Hysterical. So we have this kindred spirit. But, what it taught me was, first of all, the world of window treatments, which is very complicated. But it also taught me to go into a, 4,000 square foot home and sell them $10,000 worth of swags and jabots. Remember swags and jabots?
Oh, I do. Oh, believe me. And as horrible as it seems, I would love for them to come back because they're so easy.
Exactly.
I don't love the way they look anymore, but I mean, honestly, there was a day when you literally could go into 10 appointments in a week and 8 of them with confidence say, swags and jabots will look great here. And
Exactly. I mean, and it was the thing. It really was the thing. And then, but what that job also taught me was to be able to walk into this woman's double wide where she just needs a mini blind. And, they're all using their JCPenney card. So it really taught me how to sell and not to judge a book by a cover.
Right.
That was, a big thing for me. And so that's what got me through school. I was working while I was going to interior design school. And then I started working for a big firm here locally. And I will tell you, that's where I learned everything. So that note out there to everybody, work for a great designer in your area, whether you got to sweep the floors or do whatever. I was fortunate enough to get hired. And I did learn everything. And I was kind of in charge of their model merchandising department. And
so hang on, let me just understand something. So you worked for JCPenney while you were in school, and then you came out and worked for another designer. That's what you're saying, those two big tips. Okay. And I have to just say, I love that you absolutely acknowledge and recognize that it's necessary to learn the skill of sales in order to be a successful designer. So good on you. Okay, go ahead. I'm up to speed now.
So as I'm working for this, very well-known designer in my local area, and I happened to be put in charge of their model merchandising. They did what was called multifamily housing models. So it's an apartment complex. You're working for the developer, and it was all over the United States. So we would fly to, Nashville and do a hotel there. Fly to Atlanta, not a hotel. I'm sorry. Do a
house that was as big as a hotel, right?
It was apartment complexes. So we would design their amenity spaces, their clubhouses, and like their models.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I got into this model merchandising thing, which I still do today. So that's what I did for them. And then I was asked by a company that designs luxury motor coaches. Now, if you know what a luxury motor coach is, it's those $2 million buses that anywhere from a race car driver to movie stars to, your pig farmer that doesn't like to fly but can afford, $2 million. And I'm telling you, if they could have gold threads running through, their upholstery, they'd do it.
Wow.
And it was just, so I've kind of had this diverse idea and thing here. And when I was designing those motor coaches, a yacht company saw one of my buses and they said, will you design our yachts? And I thought, well, shoot, I've never designed a yacht in my life. But of course, the person that I am, I'm like, of course I can do that. Of course I can do that. I'd worked on the coaches, and when you're working on motor coaches, everything is lightweight. Everything has to be very easy and adjustable. So I figured, the idea of working with a moving bus and a moving boat's got to be somewhat similar. And it was. Right. However, I was moonlighting by doing this yacht company. I was doing it on my weekends. I was doing it whatever. And the bus company found out and they fired me.
Oh, whoa, really? But now, okay, so first of all, I want to give a shout out to Ashley Esprit. She was on a show. I don't know if you've been to that show yet, but she was an interior design student that I interviewed last year, and one of her goals is to become a yacht designer. So, yes, a yacht interior designer for yachts. So, hey, Ashley, hi. Okay, now. So was it that you were not astute enough to know that this was a conflict or a contract conflict, or you kind of did and figured you wouldn't get caught? Like, were you surprised? Is really, what was the circumstances there?
And again, here it comes down to, I mean, business wise, I really didn't think it was any big deal. I was thinking, I'm not working on their time.
Right.
I'm not competing with another bus company. I'm doing it on my own. And basically what this yacht company had asked me to do is design their packages. So therefore they have, 10 different styles of yachts, and they wanted 3 different packages, colorway packages for their clients to be able to choose from.
Okay.
And it wasn't like a full-time job. It was a project based.
And why did they have a problem with it? Like, you're right. It's a different industry. It's on your time.
Exactly. They just did. And so it was shocking. I've never been fired before. And so
no conversation. No, hey,
none.
Anne, leave them or lose your job. Just
none.
Hatchet.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I remember, that's back when, you had a cell phone as big as,
yes.
I don't know, a brick. And it was their cell phone. It was a company cell phone. So I go home and I call on the landline to my husband at his job. And I said, hey, I've just been fired. I said, but here's the good news. I just started my own business.
And he's like, oh, thanks, Anne. Happy.
Exactly. So, and I've had this, I've been very blessed. I've had a successful business, but I basically just knew how to design and make it rain. And that's all I knew. And, I did high-end residential. Then I opened up a retail space, which I did that for 3 years. And I'm so glad I did that in my early 30s, because if I'd done it in my 40s, I probably would have shot myself. I mean, for me, retail was one of the most painful things I ever did in my business. It was, so hard to keep it open. I had 15 employees. If an employee doesn't show up on Saturday,
yes.
Guess who's there? Me. And I've got 2 young children at this point. And so retail was not for me. And I realized that after 3 years, and then just went back into interior design, purchased a building, was doing high-end interior design, doing some multifamily housing and model merchandising, and then the crash hits. So I go from 15 employees, then down to 8, then down to me and my bookkeeper. And I didn't know if my business was going to survive. And I had just built a building 2 years earlier. I have this great facility, and I'm, like, what do you do? How do you figure this out? And what got me through the crash, especially in Florida, again, I think we got hit, really, really bad. I don't know if it's the worst, but we got hit really bad. And no one's building new construction homes, and no one's building high end. But what people were doing is they knew that they had to stay in their home, so they were renovating.
Okay.
And renovation is what got me through the recession.
And you're talking 2008 recession?
Yes.
Or are you talking 90 earlier?
No, 2008.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So it's scary. Your first recession is insanely scary, especially if you're not ready for it. I remember our first recession. It was the 94, 93. I never remember the years, but I remember my daughter was not in kindergarten yet. So, and it was the scariest thing that we've ever been through. And everyone that we've had since then, we have gotten, literally the first recession you go through in your business, if you're not ready and haven't been warned on how cutthroat you need to be about it, it can be the scariest thing in your business. And then with us, each year, each recession, we handled better. And by the time 2008 came, we really just sailed right through it, I have to say. But it was about recognizing, and I credit my husband with that 120%. Like the first sniffings of it. He's like, okay, we have to change this. We have to let this happen. We have to do that. We have to cut this back. And I'm looking at him like, it might not be that bad. What are you doing? And he's like, stop and toe the line. I'm like, okay. And of course he was completely right. So it's a huge lesson.
You totally have to prepare for the worst.
Yes.
And I know it now. And I'll take a step back to it. I said, everything I did wrong and what I learned, back in those days before the crash, it was no problem to get a $100,000 credit line from the bank.
Right.
No problem at all.
Right.
And so when I've got $100,000 on my credit line, and I had she doesn't work in the field anymore, but I had an amazing bookkeeper that looked at me and she says, "Well, here we are, we're $100,000, on the credit line, and you've run a debt-free business until now, but in 1 year we're going to get it back together." And I was like, "Okay." And she says, "Go out and make it rain, and I'll take care of your books." And I'm so thankful for her. We did. We were completely debt-free within a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And, but we cut everything back. There was no nonsense. We worked a tight ship, and I was, the remodel queen. I would have done anything at that point. You want me to pick paint color? Sure, I'll do that. My business isn't that way now, but at the time, you go where the cheese is.
That's right.
You just figure it out. And so, very blessed to get through that. And as my business grew, and started to grow even more. And right now, in the past year, I'd say Florida has really come back. It took us a little longer. And then I did a little TV show, which we'll get into after that. But so now I'm back up to 8 employees.
Okay.
And this is about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I am working harder than I've ever worked in my life. And I really thought, this isn't fun anymore. I was having an actual breakdown, just like, what am I doing this for? Because if I'm not having fun doing this, I mean, I started this business because this is what I love to do, and I didn't want to show up for work.
Yeah, you know what? That's awful. I've been at that wall before too. It's crazy. Your brain spins when you're in that moment, and when the moment lasts for weeks or months, it's brutal.
Brutal. And so, I had a real come to Jesus, and I was just like, something's got to change here. And that's when I was introduced to Gail Dobie. And I will credit Gail Dobie with changing my business.
Good for you.
Completely.
Good for her,
completely.
Too. Smart lady. Oh, my goodness. So brilliant.
Yes. And I will say, and one other thing that I did kind of in the transition when my business started growing again, and I went to do this little TV show, I did bring on, which I call her, basically she's my work wife. We're work wives. But I said, well, what should I, call you? And Kay Whitaker actually said, she says, "You're the CEO and she's the COO." And I'm like, okay, that sounds so professional, much better than work wife.
Okay, so she's not my sister wife, she's not my work wife, she's my COO.
She's my COO. And so in the time the business really ramping up, and we had some really big projects going on, and then I was going to be away for this show. I brought her on, and what's interesting. Her name is Renee. I tried to hire her 15 years ago, and she was like, "No, my kids are too young. I'm just going to stay with my little side business out of my house, and my small stuff." And so she was the first person I reached out to when I knew I'm ramping up and I've got to have some support. And what's great about her is I'm the big picture girl. I'm the starter. Right. She's the finisher. I'm the person who says, we need money. Okay, let's go get money. She's the person who says, well, let me analyze the books. Right. So we are a great match. We're both designers, and that's our first passion, our first love. But in our business right now, we're marketing, we're business development, we're this and that. What we do is really not much design anymore, because we're running the business. Right. And I attribute that to Gail by defining all of that and really getting us to understand what we're supposed to be doing and how the business is supposed to be laid out. And where Gail identifies and can give you all the information you need. And we were doing it, I felt that I needed even more help because I felt I needed somebody who could help me implement. Right. So from your podcast, I met Kay.
I love Kay too. Oh my God. I just spoke to her on Instagram Live the other night. I love her.
She's the best. She's no nonsense, which is exactly what I need. Yep. She's like, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. Where Gail is the identifier, and she totally tells you, what needs to be done. But for actual implementation and a little bit of that hand-holding, which I definitely need, that is Kay Whitaker for me.
I love it. I love it. So you're utilizing the genius of both of these women and their teams in order to, and what I love about it too is, I love that you asked and looked for help. Let's be serious. A lot of times people in business, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they're easy to ask for help. Unfortunately, at that stage in their career, a lot of times they don't have the ability, the funds to hire a coach, right? But then you get people further along in business and they think, well, I should know it. I shouldn't have to pay for help like this. But it's crazy. My husband looked at me the other day, like 2 weeks ago, and he just said, maybe we need a business coach for XYZ. And I have to say that was a huge statement coming from him because, you know what I mean? He's 50 years in business, you know what I'm saying, between the other businesses and this one. But he recognizes that the world is changing and this, email marketing and sales funnels and all of this stuff, it's a whole new language. And he's not.
I know. I can't even. I mean,
I know, it's brutal.
I told you, like when I started my business, we didn't have computers in the office.
Neither did we, believe me. We didn't have faxes. We had Polaroids. Oh my God. We didn't have cameras. We didn't have computers. We didn't have fax machines. It's crazy. I mean, I've said this on the show before. In the beginning, our workroom was maybe 35, 40 minutes away from our showroom. But if I would be at a customer's home and I'd have a question on how am I going to install this or how can you make this or what is the proportion going to be, I used to have to take a picture with the Polaroid camera, then mail it 35 minutes away, wait 3 days for it to get to them, and of course take 2 pictures, one so they could be looking at it while I'm looking at it and we could have a phone conversation about it. It was insanity. It was total insanity.
How did we get anything done?
It's craziness, And I have to say, though, and I'm certainly a broken record with this, there was something about that, though, because, now when you leave a client's home and you say, oh, yeah, you have to check with my installer, I have to check with my workroom, an hour later, they're texting you. Did you get the answer? And I'm like, oh my goodness, lady, I'm not even back to my desk yet. Whereas then it was like they knew, but it would take days. Yeah, yes, and it just was like so much calmer. I have to say,
I totally agree. And back then as well, it's interesting you say about coaching. I had no idea that coaching for interior design even existed,
right?
Or coaching, period. I had no clue. And I used to always think I'd love to be a fly on the wall in somebody else's design firm. Even though I had the background of working for the designer that I did, which is still, very successful today. I would be like, how do they do that?
But you want to know at different stages. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's one thing, and I totally agree with your advice to come out and work for another design firm before opening your own. So I'm so happy that you said that. But you need different things at different stages. So what you learned as your first 2 or 3 years in the industry working for that firm is completely different than if it's, like you said, after 15 years in business, you could go and be there first, 3 or 4 months and see how they do different things, right? It's like, but you can't hardly do that. Hey, I'm a grown woman. Can I come be at your company for 6 months?
And it's interesting that you say that word shame, because I kind of felt like, why am I losing my mind? Because obviously I've had somewhat of a successful business. Sure. I should know what I'm doing. Right. And it was almost a thought of shame, like I really need help,
Yes.
But that's not,
so much more shameful not to get it.
Exactly. And if I had the guidance, 10, 15 years ago, I know I would be in a much better place now.
Yeah.
And I would have created a mini me, which I never did.
Right.
I'm doing that now. There's so many things that I could tell you that I would have done. And instead of me looking right now, like, I've got a 10-year exit plan. I'm 45 at 55. I don't want to be working as hard as I am, even though I love what I do. I want to be the person who comes in and sells the deal and then observes the design and then is at the end. That's definitely my goal. I'm not there yet.
Right.
But I would be there if I had done these things in the coaching before, lesson learned. So I'm working my rear end off now.
It's the truth. And the thing is, it comes to in all different forms. In your case, you needed to go out, hire, pay for it, and be held accountable. And that's usually the number one and the fastest way to do it. I know for us, we I would say it's about 7 or 8 years ago. Again, and the reason I express this is because everybody knows how much I admire my husband and his business acumen. But you do do need outside eyes. I don't care how good you are in business. You do need outside eyes. And we had the gift of a previous senior vice president, Hunter Douglas. He actually was one of the founders of Window Works back in the day when it was started as a franchise in the 70s. And then he went on to work, when the franchise disbanded and blah, blah, blah. And he would call me up. He started about 10 years ago. And he's like, what's your exit plan? What's your long-term? And I was like, exit plan? I don't need an exit plan. And that's the truth. The first time I was like, well, what is an exit plan? You know what I mean? And he just pounded it on me. And he would, and you know what? He's the other person who said to me, are you building your email list? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I guess so. And, you know what I mean? And he just hammered it home for us. And it's so funny because we just met him recently for dinner. He lives out of state and we hadn't seen him in, I think it's 4 or 5 years. And he just said, handstanding. Oh, you guys are, and I looked at him, I said, a lot of it is from you. It was 3 phone calls a year. But it was 3 phone calls a year that was like a reality check, and it was always the vision look. And so, and it's exciting, and you need that. And there's no reason not to seek it out, whether you pay for it or you have a mentor or whatever it is. So I love it. So tell me about some of the specific things that you learned either from or from both, either one, Kay or Gail, so that we can maybe share some insights with some of our listeners, our colleagues here.
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's true. It's defining your ideal client.
Okay.
Number one.
Right.
And I will tell you this because that was hard for me to do.
Okay.
And I kind of avoided it because I was, still thinking in the rainmaking. I'm like, my ideal client is whoever's,
right,
going to pay me to do my, my job.
Right.
But
Ideal client has green dollar bills.
Exactly. I struggled with that, and I will tell you, I pushed it off, and I said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
This is despite being coached at this point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm very stubborn. Very stubborn. Very stubborn.
Not the ideal coaching candidate.
And,
okay.
and I told you I was losing my mind. So I was kind of going through this self-awareness and business awareness all at the same time.
Okay.
So not only am I trying to find my ideal client, I'll say the other thing that really helped me and Gail made is, what is my values? What is the values for the business? And what is the values personally?
Okay.
And I read a book called The Value Factor, and I recommend that to everybody. And I've read it 3 times. Okay. I read it or I listen to it and I take notes, and really helped me define who I am, who my business and my culture is, and who my ideal client is.
Wow. You know who you sound like, and I know you learned this first from Gail, but you sound like the very first show I did with Kay Whitaker. You got the lingo down. You learned it. Good for you, because I actually remember her expressing how important that is, to do that exercise of understanding what your value is and what your business values are, and yada. That was episode 26 episode. I want to say it was episode 26. I'm learning how to multitask and do this while we talk. I don't know if everybody's noticed this, but now I do it. So, okay. Anyway, I digress. So go ahead. So tell us about that. So why was that important? Because, and we have said it, you are an avid listener, and you know that designer after designer and coach after coach has told us that it's important to identify our ideal client. But here you are, you resisted it. Tell us about why you felt like well, I know you've said that because you just felt like you wanted to make, earn money wherever you could. But tell us about that awareness and that aha of resisting, and what happened when you finally embraced it. What was the change and the unlock for you?
Well, I will tell you this. I'm still going through this process. I don't think it's an easy process to do. I'm much clearer today than I was then. But you can't.
Then being, I'm sorry, how long ago?
Go ahead. Let's say 2.5 years ago.
Okay, so wow, 2.5 years, like you have a hard head. Okay, all right.
I do. I'm very stubborn. Okay. But you can't visualize or have insight of where you're going if you don't know who you are.
Okay.
And who you want to be. And I struggled with that personally and in business, and valuing myself, being able to say, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and we're good at it. Because in this business, a lot of people think that this is a hobby.
Yes.
And they pick your brain for free information. And you want to help. I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to help anybody and everybody.
Right.
But this is a business.
Right.
So I had to define who my ideal client was, and I've done that. And so what I'm working on right now is my actual niche. You know how you say you have to have a niche?
Mm-hmm.
Because in this business, I told you the residential market has just come back. As far as we specialize in your high-end luxury, new construction, or major renovation market.
Okay.
And that clientele is not necessarily here in the Orlando area. The Orlando area is full of what I like to call your McMansions,
Right.
your homes that are probably 5,000 square feet, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And you can customize it somewhat. But the person 4 houses down has your same exact floor plan. They might have different flooring, they might have whatever. So my market is a little different. We go a little further north, we go a little further east, we go a little further south to get our ideal clientele. But because the market has just come back to that, and I'm working on that builder relationship. In the past, I always worked for the client, and I was the client's advocate towards the builder,
Mm-hmm.
and I prided myself on that.
Mm.
But where was my mistake? I do their first, their second, and their third home, but the builder has the ability to give me 10 homes, 20 homes.
For the next 10 years, every year in a row.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Lesson learned. So I'm really to this day still working on my builder relationship and really working for those builders that do build homes to my ideal client.
So tell us a little bit about cultivating that builder relationship. It's funny; it just seems to keep coming up over and over again in the last couple of weeks on the podcast. We had Angela Harris from Trio Environment recently. She works at the builder level with builder developers. So what she's doing is she's working with builders and has developed relationships with builders that are putting up 300 and 400 and 500 multi-unit buildings, complexes, right? And doing the whole thing from the unit to the amenities, like what you were discussing earlier, but the outside design, the inside design, the marketing design, like everything. Okay. So, but then we've also, I don't think it's up yet on air, but I recently also talked with Michelle Wohler, and she's moved to a new community, and she jump-started her business by cultivating relationships with local builders. So more like you're talking about projects. Tell me about that. Tell me, because I heard what you said. You said that you could work for a client once, or if you get lucky, 2 or 3 times if they have multiple residences. But when you find and work with a relationship with a builder, you can work with that builder over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
How is it different, Anne, when you switch your headset to, like you said, the advocate for the homeowner and a luxury build? I'm thinking, and this is where I'm asking you to clear me up on, I'm thinking on a luxury build like that. You're not talking about a build where, like you said, there's 3 floor plans and you need a designer to help you pick your tile and your cabinets and your lighting. You're talking about custom design. So what is that? You're working with the builder before he even sells the home, so the client isn't in the, okay, I get it. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm trying to align myself with the builders that are building those homes for the clients that it's full custom, where it's me, it's the architect, the builder, and usually a landscape designer.
And the builder is paying the fee for all of you, the landscaper or the architect. That's how that's happening, because there's no homeowner yet?
No. Well, okay. So that's called spec homes. So yes, the builder will pay for that in that instance.
Okay.
Absolutely. And working with those relationships, but we're basically just specifying the cabinets, the floors, the tile, the lighting. Also, that builder will have a client. And so then therefore that builder will sell me or sell one of his top 2 or 3 designers, let the client interview all of us, and then choose the designer.
Okay. See, because I was thinking that a client at that level is going to come with the designer to the builder. Okay, but you're saying
they do.
Sometimes they do. Okay, so but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't. And would you say
Yes.
more often they don't? They start with the builder. They start with the piece of property, the architect, the builder, and then they all together search it. Or like you said, he recommends you.
Yes.
Okay.
And what the craziest thing is, I have clients come to me and say, I want to build this, this custom home. What builder and what architect do you recommend? So it's really kind of crazy
Around
pants.
in a circle, right? All
yeah,
around. Okay.
it is. It
Okay.
is. But it's interesting that you were talking about. So that's my niche in residential. So let's say that.
Okay.
But that's not all I do. So I also now, for our community, which is the mass single family home builder, where it's a builder that's has a community of 500 homes.
Mm-hmm.
And it is that where you can slightly customize it, but the person 4 houses down is going to have the same floor plan.
Mm-hmm.
Where I've aligned myself with that builder / developer is I work for the builder in the fact that I'll do their model homes.
Okay.
Because the people who are purchasing those homes are not my ideal client, but the builder is. So therefore, I'm going to do 2 models for him in this community. I'm going to do 2 models for him in that community. He might have 5, 6, 7 communities going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I will do the models for them. Or if they have a clubhouse, I'll do the clubhouse for them. So that's kind of my, what I would say, light commercial or my model merchandising aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my pipeline, because a custom build is a 2-3 year project,
Right.
if not more. And then when I'm working with the developer / builder, these are, sometimes they can turn their home around in 45 days.
Yes.
Their model, they will do that.
Yes.
And so that is it's a less, it's not as high
It's not
end.
as lucrative, right? Well, shouldn't
here's
say
the thing.
that, right? It's right over
No.
the course of the year. It certainly is, but the individual
absolutely is.
project price is not as
Yes.
the same. Okay,
Not even near, but it's the pipeline filler.
right,
And I can do 5 or 6 of those in a year, if not more.
right.
Where I might be doing 1 or 2 of the custom builds,
At
a
any time.
year.
Yeah. So tell me about what happens when you are doing these 5 or 6 units, projects for that level developer. And you've already said that end user is not your ideal client, but most designers that I've spoken with, they enjoy doing that work and having that relationship because that then becomes their projects. In other words, the people move in. Oh, who did the model home? Oh, it was Anne Rue and her team. I want to hire her. So how do you position yourself what happen? Or do you take those projects when they come along, even though they're not your ideal client, or have you come around to the point where you just somehow politely say, sorry, sweetie, I'm not your girl?
It's a mix. And I will tell you, it's hard for me to do that because, you want to take every job that comes your way, but you can't.
Right.
And
Right.
I've made that mistake many, many times. And when it's not my ideal client, they're the ones that, they're going to shop me. And
so you just put your
and
price high enough that they understand right away they're not your
Exactly.
girl. And did you have to talk that through with either Kay or Gail on, I'm getting these opportunities, should I be turning them away? It feels crazy to price myself out of them so that they, weed themselves out, or by the time this is happening, you had already had enough information and stood in your space with it?
Well, it's interesting, going back to my ideal client and finding my value and my
Yes.
worth. I already knew it. I totally knew that that's not my clientele and I need to stop that. And I transitioned it a little bit and to where my interviewing process, they're not only interviewing me to hire me, I'm interviewing them whether I want to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had already started that process. I'm much more diligent about it now. And it was Gail that made me realize that this client that I can take on and make X amount of money profit off of it, but they take longer. They don't make
take your
decisions
time.
well. They're time suckers. It's
Right.
not worth my time.
Right.
So, but
and by the way, it's worth somebody else's time. You know what I mean? This
Absolutely.
is not bad work. This is not worthy work. This is, it's just not the lane that you have selected for yourself and your firm, right?
Absolutely.
And that's where, do you have relationships with designers who would love to have this work that you refer when this happens, or you haven't even bothered? Okay, good.
No, I do, because, again, I started this business because, I want to help people. And if I can't help them, then I'm going to, direct them to the person I think that can do that.
Right.
And I would love to say, hey, yeah, I'll come out and pick your paint colors, pick my brain for an hour for, $350 or $500 or whatever it is. And I always, say to Gail and Kay, is that worth it? And she's like, no, it's not worth it, because your time is more valuable in the fact that you are in, you're marketing yourself, you're in, you're developing your brand and your business. And it's true. So no, I don't have that luxury to do those things but they do make me feel good. But what I've put that into is more of charity events. So I'll do the Ronald McDonald House. We are now currently trying to develop a program with Harbor House here that, many times, especially doing models, we come back with 3 bar stools that are the wrong finish, or that we ordered bar stools instead of counter stools, or there's one leftover chair. So we're trying to develop a program right now where we are giving to people who, are maybe homeless or battered women shelters that, need to get up and running into a home, and we're donating our products, and also of our clients. There's a lot of our clients that, we're redesigning everything. I don't want any of this furniture. Well, what do they do with furniture? Right. So we're in the midst of developing that program as well.
That's a big undertaking.
It is. It's a whole other business.
Honestly, I'm just sitting here going, oh my goodness.
It is. And trust me, I don't have the whole game plan together yet. And it's something that we're working on. Actually, Renee, my work wife, she's, she's really working on that, because that's the details. That's what she's good at. Right. She's good at that research and those details. I'm just the big picture girl. Yes. I'm like, hey, we should do this.
Right. I get it. I'm that girl too. Idea lady. I'm the idea lady. Oh, wait, execute here. Where is everybody that all the good people at that stuff?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. No. Okay. So all right. So I just want to recap this whole little section of the conversation with the huge overarching lesson was, no matter how many times you have heard this sentence, that you must identify what your values as a person and a business are, and then in turn identify, using those criteria and that information, your ideal client. Like, we cannot overlook this process, and we cannot just think that it's a sentence, it's something, it's buzzwords. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Yep. And I think another thing that was hard for me is admitting to myself that I'm not my ideal client. I can't afford me.
Right. I hear you. I get it. I don't think I'm my ideal client either.
Exactly. And that's kind of a humbling thing. And, because in when we do model merchandising and do the models for the people that I've already identified are not our clients, I'm very good at mixing, that
high-low.
Yeah, high-low. It's the expensive jeans with the Target top and whatever. I'm good at it. Right. I really am. But I had to have that come to Jesus, where that's not my clientele. That is not my ideal client.
Right. The high-end luxury consumer typically really isn't interested that you saved them $300 on that table and got it at Target. They want the other one.
Yes, totally true. Totally true.
Yeah, I'm definitely not my ideal client either.
It was a shift in thinking for me, and it's something that I still have to do it, because I will get people who call me and they say, and it sounds like a great project, but I have to be like, no, I can't help you, but I know who can.
Okay, so this is a hard thing to do. But it's an important thing, and it's something that really helps you focus and put your business on the right track, because you're not constantly taking one step forward and 2 steps back, right?
Oh, and that's what I've done the past 18 years. See, lessons I'm learning.
Yeah. See, we've done that at Window Works, but I think I think it's easier. I think it's easier for us on a couple of different levels. My husband is more that guy, especially in the beginning, every job, no matter what, high, low, in between, that guy. And I was never that. I always was like, this is our lane. This is where we go. If that person can't afford it, there's somebody else that can provide this for them at their price point. But I have to say that I think that the gift for my life has been we've talked 1,000 times about my upbringing on this television show. Here you go, universe. Yes, exactly.
Which I've downloaded the course. I'm telling you. Every time I would hear you say that, I was like, I've got to do that. I've got to do that. So yes, again, I'm telling you, you're my best friend, but you just don't know it.
Hysterical. That's hysterical. Oh my goodness. But so I think the gift is the combination of that. Okay. That the Silva method, my aunt, my mother, the upbringing. Okay. But also, this is a business point now. The business point is that I also have not, other than that 2-year period during that first recession that we hit in those early 90s, I have never been the one in the checkbook. And I have to say, as a salesperson, as a rainmaker, I think that it's a terrific gift if you cannot be the one with your eye on the checkbook. Because I never sell from need. I never sell from fear. I never sell from, oh my goodness, I need to close this sale in order to make payroll. You see,
it's a freeing feeling.
And it's a hindsight thing that I've learned, because what happens is when I'm in a moment on a Thursday afternoon and, I'm thinking this sale is going all the right way and it takes a left turn and I find out, oh, hello, not my demographic. They don't actually have the pocketbook that I thought. This isn't really, feasible for them. I don't figure out a way to make it work. I'm not like, oh my goodness, but I have to make payroll. So, hey, I'll take $300 off, or I'll take $1,000 off. It's like, no, I'm sorry. If you want to save $1,000, we'll change products. There's always another product. And so it's the reason I express all of this here is because, like, you have a COO now, if you have a CFO, whether it's really your bookkeeper or it's a true CFO, look, I know you need to know what your finances are. I know you need to know if you're healthy, but I'm talking about that muck and mired in the day-to-day. If you are also the principal rainmaker and you are also the principal sales closer, if you can figure out a way not to be the one with Monday through Friday eyeballs in the checkbook, there's a gift there.
It's totally a gift. And I will say that I've been able to do that. That's the first thing I did when I started my business. Was I had a office administrator or bookkeeper. She dealt with all of that, because if I would have had to deal with that, the bills never would have been paid. I mean, it's not my gift.
Well, that's number one, not being paid, but I'm talking about, and which is true. Okay. But I'm talking about taking out of the equation. I have to have this client. I have to close this client because I need $3,000 this week to make payroll.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
And I, he can tell me, like, thankfully, we're not at that stage where this happens. But in the beginning, believe me, I spent many years where it was like, we've got to make bills and this and that and the other thing. And it's not that he didn't come home and tell me this stuff, but there is a difference between literally writing that check. Because I did spend 2 years where he was out of the business and I did have to be the salesperson and the, bookkeeper, manager and everything. And I remember the stark contrast of it. And so there's one thing to come home, which he still does, by the way. He's crazy. He'll still come home and say, it's, the 16th of the month and we're only at XYZ sales for the day, and because he knows the sales every single day. We're absolutely obsessed with making our numbers. Awesome. Yes. Yeah. And so, and I just look at him and to me, I'm like, yeah, it's only the 16th of the month. I got 2 weeks. Like, watch it happen. And it's so funny because he hit me with it right last week. We were getting ready to go to Florida, right near you, for my niece's wedding. And on Monday, he's like, I don't know what's going on, but I think it was the 16th. And he's like, and literally by Friday, I had $48,000 in sales. I was like, watch me move. You know what I mean? And he's just like, okay, I guess we'll go to Florida with a clean head. I'm like, all right, get your bags packed. Let's go.
Never underestimate.
That's it, So, but I'm out there, clean, free head. Let's go. Let's make this happen, and dream and vision, and to me, because that is like it's the correlation is when you are creating something for a design package. It's what is the best this could be, not what will they buy. What will they, what can I sell? What can I make sure they close, right? So there's just something, there's a lesson in there. And if you are out there struggling to close sales and to close deals because you are working from you need to close as opposed to what I need to do to create beauty and to this, figure out a way to disconnect this somehow. Yes. Which is contrary to what I say 90% of the time, which is know your numbers. Okay. I maybe I'll figure out a way to explain it more expertly as the days and weeks go by, but there is something in there.
Great job.
So, all right. So here's the thing. I love, the recap of this is the lesson. Okay. Know yourself, know thyself, know thy client. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about these TV shows for a little bit before we lose everybody here. Okay. Sometimes I get on with people and I could really talk for days because, of course, you are my BFF, right? So you have had the privilege, the luxury, the fortune to be on both HGTV. I can never sew those consonants together. HGTV and the Travel Channel. So you were on. Design. Tell me the name of this show.
It used to be called Design Star, and
right.
Either before season 7 or season 8, maybe they called it HGTV Star.
Okay. And this is the show you were telling me that Vanessa De Leon was on, right? It's that same show, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you were on episode. What's that?
I was on episode 8, and I can't think of what his name is. It's not coming to me. But season 1, the person who won it is still on HGTV today, and he was actually one of the mentors for the show. His name's not coming to me.
It'll come to you.
He lives in Miami, but anyway.
Oh, I know. Is it that Peter Bromstad or somebody?
Bromstad. David Bromstad.
David
Thank
Bromstad,
you very
right?
much. Yes.
I'm going to tell you what. Kimberly is right now going, what? She knew that name? Honestly. That's research for you folks. Okay. Okay. So, yes. Okay. So you were on season 8.
Yes, which was their final season.
Okay. And you were voted as a fan favorite.
I was. I did not win. I got right to the finale and then was kicked off. But it was, I got to tell you, so I'd been watching this show since season 1. And I was always like, I could do that. I could do that because it's basically like Survivor for designers, when somebody gets kicked off every week. And I was like, I could do this, but never thinking I would ever try out. Okay. And so I have 3 boys, so it takes a village. And my nanny says to me, and she's young and she's cute. She does social media for my business and picks up the kids from school. And she says to me, she says, HGTV for Design Star is going to have an open casting call in Miami. And I said, really? She says, yeah, I'll take care of the kids this, for the weekend, go down there and do it. And so I'm thinking, I should totally do this. And so I call a girlfriend, one of my crazy girlfriends, and I said, hey, can you get the weekend off? She says, sure. So we go down to Miami. We're having sushi. I go to this open casting call. I've never done a casting call in my life. I have no idea what I'm supposed to have or whatever. But I just walk in, I show my portfolio, I'm myself. And the lady says, here, don't go running out of here like you got the golden ticket, but I want to see you tomorrow. And I was like, well, I don't have a hotel room for tomorrow. I'm like, I didn't think I was going to get this far. I'm like, okay, let me call my nanny, see if she can, babysit for another night. My girlfriend, does she have another night off? And we did. And so, and I did an audition again for there. And then they send me to fly me to New York. I do an audition there. And they call me up and they said, well, we've got good news and bad news. And I said, well, what is that? And she says, you're first alternate. Oh. And I'm like, what does that mean? She says, well, if somebody breaks a leg or, whatever and can't do it, you're our next person.
Somehow has massive food poisoning, and I'm not sure how that would have happened.
Exactly. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because I really thought I had it. And that was for season 7. And I'm telling you, I was disappointed. I was
Well, of
like totally
course.
bummed.
Yes,
Yeah.
look, you could have gone there and not even gone through one hoop, and it's disappointing. You put your sights on something. It's an exciting thing to go after, and we all think we're gonna be able to do whatever it is, right? So okay,
Yes.
but to get that far, okay, so
Yes.
that you just said was season 7. So what happens?
was
You must have
season
go
7.
back for 8 or something, or
So
they call you? What
Well, I
happens?
kept close watch on the production company and all the information, and I would just keep, updating with them. When are you guys going to have an open casting call again? Well, sure enough, the open casting call that they're going to have in my area is during a weekend that I have my annual girls' weekend. Okay,
Uh-oh.
so I was like, there's no way I'm missing the girls' weekend.
Oh, unless you can
So-
invite all the girls.
Exactly. So I got a local production guy here, and I had made a video, and I sent it to the production company.
No way.
And this time I didn't have to do the rigmarole. They fly me out to New York. A couple weeks later, they said, you're on season 8. I was like, yes.
Wow.
And I got to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be life-changing.
Sure. I would think so too, right?
Absolutely. And now I will say the experience was amazing. I met 10 of the most amazing people in the world. When you're in a competition reality show like this, you're completely sequestered. You have no cell phone. You have no access with the outside world. We were all in one condominium, let's say, area in Hollywood. And you don't get to go out to dinner. Food's brought in. You are sequestered.
And how long does this go on?
I was there for 5 weeks. Not everyone was there that long because if you
get bumped off.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always thought, oh, people don't really pack their bags. That they didn't fit all their stuff in that bag. They don't do that. No, they do. You have to have your bags packed every week. I kid you not, because you might be the one going. So it is, and reality
So
TV is not
bizarre.
reality TV. I mean, yes, you are doing these projects in 2 to 3 day, spats. And, the big story in my season was that Boris stole my bedding. No, he didn't. Production made sure it went missing. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
No way.
oh, yes.
So what
And-
happens now? Do you know? Did you know in real time that Boris did not steal your bedding, and therefore you had to pretend that he did, or did you believe he did, so therefore you could be real in the moment?
Absolutely. I totally believed he did, and they make it seem that way. After hindsight, no, he didn't, and we've talked since then. And
can
no,
I ask you, because I didn't see it, but did you have to then be all like, I can't believe you stole my bedding, or could you just look around and go, okay, the dude stole my bedding, can we get more? Like what is?
Well, here's the thing: is that there is no more because you have certain shopping days and shopping times.
Oh, so
if
you are
go-
screwed. You are screwed, and you really think he did it, and that. Okay, so yeah, my back would be up. They wouldn't have to worry if I would react. You're right. Okay.
Exactly. So you know what I'm saying, but what I did learn very quickly, very, very quickly, is watch what you say.
Yeah.
Never act like anything's a big issue, because then they're going to publicize on that, because that's good television.
Right. And now that's not exactly good marketing for your design firm, that you're the crazy
Exactly.
diva. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you got to lock it down. You got to be a grown up.
Yes. And so what I did is no big deal. I was not going to, say anything bad about, Boris or anything like that. I'm just going to make it work, because that's what it's problem
Well,
solvers.
that's
That's what we are
right,
as
right.
designers. And you figure it out. So I ended up just using my white duvet and putting a throw at the end of the bed and making it work. And I got through
Do they
to the
do
next
that
one.
whole like private in your room where I'm really mad at Boris though? Like, do they do that crap?
They do. Oh, yes, they do. They that's in those interviews, and
But you
what they
still
do-
probably handled it adult like, right? I'm sure.
Well, you have to.
Yes. Yeah.
You
yeah,
have
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
and because it's going to be on national TV.
Right.
And what they will do between the first, let's say, episode or first challenge to the last is they will ask you the same questions over and over, because you will answer that question differently every time.
And do you have you don't have the, like, they can cut in. That's the thing that I would be so terrified of in doing a reality show like that, is because they ask you one question, you give an answer to it, and then they edit it to look like it's the answer to a different question. And you're just like, whoa, that's not what I meant.
Well, and I will say they weren't that sneaky. I will say that,
Okay.
but they are going to ask you that same exact question over and over again, because let's say when you're tired and you're in front of that camera for 2 hours, because sometimes 2 to 3 hours you're in front of that, because they're talking about episode 1 all the way to episode 7.
Right.
And they're going to recap all those episodes. And if you're tired or you're whatever, you're going to answer it snippy one time, or you're going to answer
and
it nice
that's
one
the
time.
one they're looking for.
So they won't change your answers. They've just asked it so many times to get what they want.
Like, get your guard
And
down.
absolutely, absolutely. So, I learned so much on this show. Now, ask me if I'd ever do a challenge reality TV show again. Absolutely not.
I know.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And, I was away from my family for 5 weeks. At this time, I had an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, or somewhere around there.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and you are completely away from your family and the whole thing. You do make great relationships, and I'm still friends with every single one of those people. And it's wonderful. And we have like a private Facebook page that we still talk to each other on, and it's great. You do, and so I'll never, I'll always cherish that. But the lessons I learned on that show were, just unbelievable. I can't watch a reality show now at all without thinking, oh, no, that didn't really happen, That's not the way that happened.
It's so crazy how this whole world has switched to reality TV, and it's just beyond it. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. So tell me, from the standpoint of, like, if Gail or Kay were saying to you, return on investment, return on 5 weeks out of your business, return on 5 weeks out of your family, return on not being able to produce design work that is, bringing in dollar bills for that amount of time. Worth it? Not worth it? Where's our return on investment on doing this? Because so many designers listening are like, I want to be on a show. Like, I mean, we all think it's glamorous, right?
You do think it's glamorous, and I did think it would be life-changing. And hindsight is 2020. And if I had a agent or a PR firm or somebody in line before I had done that show to do all the preparation for right when it gets out, I might have had a different result or outcome as far as national exposure. Okay. I totally know that now. But as far as return on investment for my business, has anyone called me and said, I saw you on HGTV, I want you to do my $5 million house? No. And then from there, I got to do Travel Channel Hotel Impossible, which is a reality show, but not a competition. And we actually do, renovate usually the lobby and the hotel room of these most disgusting hotels. Like, no, you would never stay in one. I mean, it is bed bug infested, disgusting. And we would do it in a week, but again, that's a production week. So you have first day where it's all the before shots, and you have the last day where it's filming everything. Plus, you have a construction team and the camera team, and so you really only have 3 days to do this project. So, and I would only get to go 10 days before that. They'd fly me out. I'd make my design plan, get everything together. So, and get everything ordered. So you have a budget and you have to get everything ordered. And if something wasn't there on what they call day 0, which is before pictures day, that got cut out of design, because I can't just wait for something to show up and do. You've got 3 days camera, and this is my reputation. I don't want to leave a hotel room not finished or not done, or so you have to have plan A, best scenario, plan B, plan C, and just make it work in the 3 days time that you have. And I mean, it's one of these things where doing the model merchandising way back when I was working for that other designer, same thing. You show up to, Nashville and your coffee table is broken. Well, you got to go find a new coffee table or figure it out. So all of these little lessons, and then being on HGTV Star, making things work, and then Hotel Impossible. I'm really good at that problem solving thing.
So that honed some legit skills there.
It absolutely did. Absolutely did. But has anyone from the hotel project, has anyone asked me to do their hotel? No. So, and I hadn't met Gail before I did these TV shows. And so I was doing Hotel Impossible while I, started working with Gail. And she said to me, she says, okay, so you're making X amount of dollars, they're paying you to do this. What are you losing back at home in your office? And I thought, you're absolutely right.
Right.
It is not profitable for me to be running around doing these TV shows. Yes, I get some national exposure, and yes, on a marketing platform, it is good. But unless you've got an agent or you're going to capitalize on it, or, you're
spend more money at it to make it grow. Right.
Yeah. I mean, not all of us are going to be the fixer-upper. Not all of us are going to be the Property Brothers. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I learned too is they have their own production team. That is their own show. They're not owned by HGTV. They're not owned by Bravo. It's their own production company. They can give it to whoever they want. And if you're going to be on a TV show, and you're not going to be owned by somebody, you got to have your own production company.
Okay. And so just 3 seconds on that. So the value of owning your own production company is clearly you're not going to get asked the same crazy question 20 times. And so that we highlight the least
Absolutely.
flattering answer, right? You're in control of it. But then you're spending tens of thousands of dollars to produce these things, and then you're peddling them to other stations that want to pick them up. And I guess that's based on, and I'm asking this because I'm going down this road because when we were in Atlanta, we had roundtable conversations with designers, and a lot of them are thinking about licensing and starting product lines and all of these things, and this is the dream. And the question is the same, in my mind, you'll tell me if I'm correct, whether you have the desire to start a TV show or be on a TV show, or the desire to license your own, I don't know, line of candles. I don't know what the heck you could, whatever. The point is that you got to come to the table with an audience. You got to bring somebody there. So you can produce your own TV show all day long, but maybe HGTV or whoever isn't going to pick it up if you're a designer with 300 followers on Instagram. You got to come with the legions that want to see your show, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And if you don't have your own production company or whatever it is, there are different production companies out there. I can't tell you how many pilots I've done since those shows. People call me, oh, we're doing this. Yeah. And I mean, the likelihood that somebody's going to pick it up, is small chances there. And I think that not Tori Spellman,
Taylor Spellman, yes.
Yes.
Taylor, yeah.
Again, I loved her talk about it. She was 4 years past, she had a Bravo show, and then 4 years passed and Bravo picks her up, and then all of a sudden, and it was a great show.
Yes.
And then where is it now? It's gone.
I know.
It's a fly-by-night type of thing.
And I love that show too, Yours, Mine, and Ours. She was so good in it. She was so, and I'm not, everybody knows I'm not the girl that sits and watch all these TV shows. That was, I thought she was phenomenal in that. And I love the chemistry, and I love the concept.
Yeah.
And they drank wine with their clients every night. I mean, let's just say that.
And it was great. And I'll be honest with you, I had never been on TV before in my life. And just so happens I'm good on camera. Right. I don't get in front of the camera and freeze. Yeah. I have a presence on TV. I'm good at it. I like it. And would I love to do it if it was the right project? Absolutely. Right. But is that something I'm going for? Whatever? No, because that's not paying my bills. It's not putting the food on the plates of my employees.
Right.
I'm running a business, and I've got to make it rain here with my ideal client.
Well, and what it is it's what we always say, start with your why. Why are you doing something? So I will not speak for Taylor, but if I recall the gist of it, she for many years did pilot, and, after pilot, I mean, that was part of her why, whether it's her ultimate why. But I think that I don't think I'm misstating it, that a big part of her goal for herself as a person was to be an interior designer on a TV show or with a TV show. Okay. So if that is a driving why, if that is a driving goal, then you're going to make decisions and you're going to do things that fulfill that. But if it's, hey, I happen to be like you, I'm good at it and it would be great, but this is where my bread and butter is, and this is my why. My why is to have a successful, profitable, luxury, high-end interior design firm, and that's your number one why. It's like my husband says, you have to know what your mission statement is and stick to it. What does it serve your mission statement?
Or does it serve my 10-year exit plan?
Or does it serve your exit plan? Exactly. Which is, yes.
Oh, trust me, that's the most important thing right now.
That's it. This is true, too.
Oh, gosh.
Well, so I think it's terrific because, you really spoke very candidly about the TV experience. It's exciting. There's no doubt that it's exciting, but you do have to have eyes wide open. You have to have the eyes wide open, and you have to be able to have the ability. I mean, you had an entire family and a business and figured out a way for that to move forward during the 5-week absence. Not a lot of people have the ability to do that or, could do it well. So you have to know yourself too. You can't just say, hey, I'm great on camera. It's like I have to be a great manager, organizer back here to set things up too so the whole world doesn't like fall apart in the wake. So,
Yes.
but very interesting. And I appreciate your being really truthful about it and also being truthful about, going after counseling and coaching after 17 years in business. I think it's awesome. I think you're absolutely phenomenal. And I hate to end the interview because I could truly pick your brain about more stuff. There's no question about it. You're very, I think it was eye-opening. That's really the way I feel about it. And I hope that it helped your peers out there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing. I mean, that's what I love about your podcast is that, you do get to hear other, wins and losses from, people who are doing the same thing, and you're not alone. Trust me. I mean, the more candid I am, the more honest I am, might help that next person. And that's really what it's all about, because this is a business that doesn't usually share.
Right.
We're all afraid that, they're going to take my clients. There's enough work to go around.
Right.
There really is.
Right.
And the support is important. It really is.
And it's as, Kay and Gail have instructed you. When you know your ideal client, guess what? That's probably not your friend sitting next to you. That's not her ideal client. And so there's no reason to be afraid. And when you do share a similar demographic for an ideal client, there's tons of them out there,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
I'm a big believer in that. We all rise up together, help each other out.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, and I have to tell you, I really do appreciate getting to know you. And yes, we are BFFs. Just take that to the bank.
Love it.
And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person one day. That will be a great day. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Okay, have we burned it into your brain cells yet? It has been discussed over and over on this podcast how you must absolutely identify your ideal client, your company mission, and your core values. Anne had 18 years experience and still needed to learn this, but you can hear it, how much better things have gotten for her since she has taken the time to do this. She knows where to spend her time, knows who to say yes to, and who to refer to another colleague. If you haven't done this for your firm yet, wherever you are in your career, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, or 20 years in business, stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Sit down and figure these things out for you and your business. I promise you, if you do this, so many other things will get easier on a daily basis. Your marketing message crystallizes. You magically have more of the right kind of clients, the kind that you love, call you, and less of the kinds that you don't call you. And then make sure all of this info is on your website. If you want to work with families with kids, pets, etc., and you want to help them create comfortable but durable homes, say that on your website. If you want to do green design, sustainable design, cruelty-free, vegan design, say it. Get certified, talk about it, share it, own it. And I'll add one more observation. Anne recognized the value of 2 different types of business coaches for her. Gail was very instrumental in the big view, the direction, and the vision, where Kay helped her with the action steps in executing her clarified vision. I happen to know for a fact that both of these women are capable and can do either side of this equation that Anne needed. It's just that that's how it worked out for Anne. And I'm simply pointing out that just like you wouldn't use just one resource for furniture or lighting, there are tons of resources available to you to help you strategize and help you grow and make your business more profitable. So in the episode, we talked about several previous episodes today, which may be of help to you if you like the information in this episode. So Kay Whitaker has been on the show 3 times, but the show that we talked about establishing your branding was episode number 26. Then, if you're interested in more conversations about what it's really like to be on a design TV show, you can go to episode 18 with Vanessa DeLeon, or episode 74 with Candace Olson, and episode 106 with Taylor Spellman. All of these women shared their experiences on this topic. So if you found today's show helpful, I'd be so grateful if you'd do a few things for me. Please follow me in social media, on Instagram at Luann Nigara and at WindowWorks, on Facebook at facebook.com/awelldesignedbusiness and facebook.com/WindowWorksNJ. At the WindowWorks sites, you'll find advice, tips, and resources for custom window treatments and awnings, and you might be able to use some of this information when you're working on your interior design projects. At the other sites, you'll find advice, tips, and resources for becoming a more confident business person with a more profitable business. Lastly, if you'd like to be on our email list, please text the word Design Biz to the number 444-999. That's the word Design Biz, no caps, no spaces, DESIGNBIZ, to the number 444-999. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Have an excellent day. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.